Hello viewers, this is the Aston Martin Rapide S, and for those of you who might remember, this was actually our very first review that we did on this channel, and we're back again to actually see if we still love this car.
Okay guys, we are now sat in the stunning, beautiful, gorgeous, I don't know how many amazing words you can use to describe how good this car looks inside and out, but we sat inside the Rapide S now, and I'd like to start with just the stunning three-tone different interior colorings that you have. You have your general black, your whitish beige, and then this very nice, expensive looking red. The leather in this car is just absolutely stunning. It's all very soft, very comfortable. The steering wheel is soft touched and comfortable. There's barely any plastic on this car. If you see this is quite nicely done. You've got your velvety type roof style with the pattern on both sides of the roof. As you can see, all velvety along both pillars as well. You've got your leather soft touch going along the whole front of the dash. And then yeah, this general steering wheel is very comfortable on your hands. You've got all your displays here for your volume, your calls, your setting buttons. You've got your windows over here, which actually, as Eugene and I were discussing earlier, actually have a bit of weight to them when you press on the window things, just showing the absolute quality that you get in this car. Now we'll go to the cluster over here of the gauges, and you can see the display actually goes opposite to what generally happens. You can see it starts at 0 and goes to 8 anti-clockwise, opposed to what normally happens in a car's gauges and how it accelerates in the RPM range. And so the car goes to 330 on the gauge, as you can see there, and it even displays miles per hour if you wanted to see what you're doing in miles per hour as well, generally showing that this car can go all around the world wherever you really need to travel. And then we can touch base that this has a Bang & Olufsen speaker system, which is possibly the best speaker system you can get in a car, standard or optioned. Obviously this one has it optioned. And yeah, just to show you this display of the speakers, not only do you have the speaker there and a speaker there and generally around, but these actually are speakers that you have on both sides. And for now, you don't actually notice that because those actually raise up once you put the key in, which Eugene will show now.
I also wanted to touch on a couple of things. Number one is the keys. So when you buy an Aston Martin, you get two sets of keys. You first get the ECU, as they call the emotional control unit, which is usually the glass key, which is very amazing. Sadly today we didn't get it. Then you also get the valet keys, so it probably limits the power and limits anything that you can do with the car. But let's actually put this in so that you can actually see the tweeters rising up as Matteo just intended. So as you can see, everything rises up, the infotainment rises up, and the tweeters rise up. So then I also wanted to come on focus on the center console over here, which has a waterfall sort of design, where it's a lot of the buttons just come down and meet at a certain point. So usually in other cars it's usually like straight and not that intuitive, but this is very nice. It is glass carbon and it will get dirty over the years. As you can see there, my fingerprints have already made a mark over there, but if you keep it clean, it's very nice. So here you have a lot of buttons, when I say. So up here where the key is, where you insert the key, you have your gear selector. So in most other cars it's usually like a gear knob or a button that you press down here, or a dial that you switch, usually in like Fords. And this is the gear selector. Then here's all your radio controls. So if I just do that, it's a very old Garmin system, and it has been credited as being probably one of the worst infotainment systems in the car industry, which probably led to the demise of this car and this model, which is the reason why Aston, I don't think, has made another V12 4-door again. And if you look over here,
in a nice
that is very nice. It has that James Bond effect, where if for those of us who have watched James Bond, most of us will know like that intro where he comes in and shoots at the screen. So it goes in like a gun motion.
Quite a bit of waters, because I've been on here, so I think I've had like 5
That is
waters.
a very good sound system. And then if you look here, it's all your climate controls and everything that you need for just being comfortable in this car. It's a very, very comfortable car. Then here's your sport button and your traction control off button. And then here is your handbrake. I'm not going to touch that because I don't want us to roll back. And then surprisingly, you only get one cup holder in this car. For a car that costs this much, and a car that costed as much as it did brand new, I expect it to at least have maybe 2 cup holders, but why would you only have 1? Then here is all your heated seat buttons and everything for the passenger and driver. And this has like a metal, I don't know if you can hear that, but it has like a metallic well, not metallic, but a magnet effect that you have. So here you can put whatever you need, so probably on your cell phone, that's probably like a 2012 era phone, so like an iPhone 2 or iPhone 3, then your charging, then your USB. Then in general, what I can say about this interior is you do feel it's a tiny bit cramped. I mean, the windscreen is, if I measure it, it's only about that big. It's only about that big. And then we look at the sun visors. These are the smallest sun visors I have ever seen in my entire life. These are not blocking out anything. They are useless. They don't even come out. So I wouldn't advise using them at all. So you will definitely be blinded in here. But let's actually move into the back seats, which looked awfully cramped for a 4-door sedan.
We've now moved to the rear, and firstly I'd just like to touch up on the actual patterning with the colors and the red stitching you get in the back of this Aston Martin and in the front. If I could just show you quick, there's this beautiful stitching. It's actually very nicely done. But I'd like to start by saying that this is a bit cramped. Obviously you can move the seat probably a bit further and you'd have a bit more leg room, but for people like us that's around 5'8", we're not the most tall people there are, and there's barely any leg room. The headroom's perfectly fine. You can see there's a lot of headroom here, and the general shape of the car, it actually has a weird dip in the roof. You can see here it goes downwards as you get to the passenger side, showing that the passenger side is lower. And also you can just see how short this windscreen is when you put your head at eye level, put the camera at eye level, to show that windscreen from behind you won't see anything. And yeah, but generally the space in the back isn't the best, and that probably is why the competitors, as in the Panamera, your RS7s, your CLS 63s and such, did better in the German cars, because there were 5-seater bench seated cars at the back with a lot more space. Now you do get your infotainment screens here, which are controlled by what we found, a remote inside here. You do get 2 decent quality headsets from Aston Martin themselves, coming specially made by Aston Martin. You've got 2 cup holders here at the back, and obviously if you don't have those in there, you have quite a bit of storage space at the back here, also connected with a magnet. But yeah, you have 2 cup holders here as opposed to the one you get in the front. You have all your systeming and display to control your heating, your windows, and there's even single buttons for the lights in the back here, which you can see, which actually work really well for giving extra lighting. But yeah, the back of this car is a bit cramped. The quality obviously remains absolutely great, just as it is in the front. The seats can be a bit uncomfortable. They feel slightly harder, as these are a lot softer than the rear seats, and I feel like they focused a lot more on the front seated passengers as opposed to the rear seat passengers. And also I'd like to just touch on your magnetized door handle here that you can use to actually get in and out of the car. It does actually help and makes getting in and out a lot easier. But generally in the back, it actually is quite a good car with decent quality. You've got your nice carpeting, your nice leather, your little extras around here. There's your little details, cool door handles. You got your double speakers at the back and so on. You've got all your positionings. But yeah, it's just, I'd say, the general space in this car. They've tried to add like a center console type of thing to the car, but at the same time it's kind of just taken away from space that you would get in its opposition.
So now that we've actually arrived at the rear space of this car, and a couple years ago, actually, I cannot believe it, I didn't really talk much on it because it was our first review, but what I can say is, since then, this is it's a long way to the front and it's a long opening to the front, but it's not really wide. It's a really narrow opening for the boots. You can fit carry-on suitcases, but maybe one. I would not advise like more than 2. You would struggle for space. And then one thing that you also get from Aston Martin is you get an umbrella from Aston Martin, and since it's an Aston Martin, it's held down with leather straps. So we just unhook these. You got your Aston Martin branded umbrella, which if you lost it would probably cost the equivalent of like 20,000 Rand. So let's just put it back for safety's sake. So now let's actually head to the engine bay, which is probably so magnificent.
we've now made it to the front of this car, which obviously is a massive front end that you get on the Aston Martin. Generally most Aston Martins. This coming with the spectacular V12. One of the possibly the best sounding V12s you can get in a car comes from these Aston Martins, as opposed like the Vanquish and so on. All have very similar V12 engines with the same capacity of 6 liters, but the power and torque obviously differs. And so in this motor you get 550 newton meter torque, 630 newton meter torque, 550 horsepower out of the car, which for those who don't know is around 400, just below 400 kilowatts. And yeah, this is just a magnificent work of art in the engine bay. You've got your braces, obviously bracing to the chassis to make sure that the ride is actually better than what most people would think. And this is a handmade specified built car, who was then even finally inspected by Paul Bolito, who sounds like a guy from Joburg, not gonna lie, but he's obviously a very high quality engineer or inspector. And this showing, you've got a plaque here to show who last inspected it, and to just show that the car engine is hand built. As you can see, it's a beautiful sight to just see this massive engine. And just like to touch on that, this still has less capacity than the Trackle that we recently looked at, that being a 6.2 liter. So yeah, Americans are a bit crazy having V8s with more capacity than these giant Aston Martins. So now we'll head to the rear to hear the startup of this car. Okay, after hearing that beautiful engine noise, we just like to touch on the actual door handles of this
So
car.
for most Aston Martins, it's flushed, which completes the design. So as you can see, you actually have to pull your finger there and then open it like that. And the one thing I love about Astons is, like, when you open the door, well, when you open a door in a regular car, usually like if you're on a hill, the door will usually like just slam. But with an Aston, they've engineered a very clever trick. So like, it can be at any angle you can leave it at. So you can leave it like that, meaning if the wind pushes it, it'll push it very, very, very slowly, which is very clever engineering. I don't know why more manufacturers don't do things like this, which is very, very smart, but it's very nice. And I'm having trouble speaking because that engine noise was just otherworldly. It has to be probably the best sounding car that we have ever reviewed on this channel, and my heart is still racing after that. But I just want to say thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Come down here at Thobela Cars. It is in the Santon area under the Leonardo Hotel, which is very cool. But this is an amazing car. Do we still love it? Absolutely, we still love it. Maybe we'll even get the chance to drive it soon if you guys keep watching and reviewing and sharing. So thank you. See you next time.